Enjoy the property show with Iwenla. This morning, we're going to take a quick look at the campaign, that has been happening around. If you look around you, you see that almost every state has had some story of the campaign or the other. And people seem to be comparing the crowd, Oh, we had more crowd at this one. We had less crowd here and all that and all that. But this morning, discussing the campaign, with us is Mr. Wale Fakunda. Mr. Wale Fakunda, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Mr. Wale Fakunda is a barrister at law.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you have taken a good look at the campaigns as it's been happening both sides. What exactly do you make of? Let's start with Kano. The crowd from the APC and the one for the PDP.
Oh, well, I think we need to look at it from the perspective of the historical antecedent of Kano State.
Okay.
If you look at it from that perspective, you would then be able to decipher where the votes, who the vote is going to swing in its favor. Okay, so if you look at President Muhammadu Buhari's antecedents in Kano, Kano has always been his base from time. And so when he went to campaign there, the people of Kano, clearly demonstrated their age-long loyalty towards him, and that's why you saw the kind of crowd you saw that came out for him in Kano. But then again, when Atiku went there, because of the Kwakwanso factor, okay, so people were also competing. If you look at Atiku's crowd, you see a lot of red caps, all around. So because
that's the Kwakwanso red cap.
Yeah, the Kwakwanso red cap, and Kwakwanso was actually there. Kwakwanso is also rooting for a governor for that state. And if you also look at his own campaign, the campaign for Atiku was that of Atiku and the governorship aspirant of PDP, which Kamako is rooting for. And so that also accounted for the number of people, that came out.
Doesn't that translate to meaning that it may no longer be the hold of the president, and then it's, base has shifted?
No, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, it's going to be narrowed down. On election day, it's going to be narrowed down. And then it's going to be clearly, I'm not talking about the governorship election, the presidential election. It's going to be clearly between the Buhari and an Atiku.
But let's look at the Nigerians, the governors from Niger Republic, who were part of that campaign for President Muhammadu Buhari.
Well,
let's look at the law side first. Was that against the law?
There's nothing against the law. I have my friends offshore. I have American friends. I have British friends that can visit me if I'm doing anything. So there's absolutely nothing against the law in that.
Why did they come particularly for the campaign in Kano? Why would you say they came for that particular campaign?
Well, it may be it may be proximity, it may be availability. I mean, these are also public office holders where they are. So it may be availability, it may be anything. Any could have responsible. But the bottom line is this. These are people that are friends of the president, and then they want to
identify.
To identify with him, to show some solidarity and all of that.
And the most recent campaign was the one in Ogun State just yesterday. The booing, the stone throwing, the water that was being thrown. What does that tell you about the atmosphere for the election in general?
Well, I think in Ogun State, it's quite an unfortunate situation. And if you look at most of those people that perpetrated the scenario you just painted, from a political party that is totally different from the APC. You see the APM people there, and then they are the ones doing all of those things. I think it's gross indiscipline. If the APM wants to do their own rally, they are free to do their rally. And then the governor, who is a sympathizer, with APM, is also the president's friend. So you can always invite the president to come to their rally. But you do not come to APC rally and come and be, protesting against APC candidates. I think it's totally unfortunate, and I think it is, for lack of a better word, absolutely barbaric.
But the president then came forward and then said something like, you can choose who you get to vote for. Usually when he campaigns for other candidates in every state, he raises the hand of the candidate and said, this is our candidate, vote for him.
He did that yesterday. He did that.
Yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see, don't also forget exercise of your franchise. it's a constitutional right. Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, you are still going to vote for a candidate of your choice. And the president is a very blunt and, he hits the nail. So, look, gentlemen, ladies, you have to vote for the candidate of your choice. But I am presenting to you our own candidate. And he told Prince Dapo Abiodun that come, and the guy was, if you look at the video, the guy was staying at his left. He said, come to my right. And then he raised his hand up. So that says the Lord that, look, this is the person I prefer. If you believe me, because if you notice, there were quite a lot of say Baba, say Buhari, and all of that. So if you believe me, this is the person I want you to vote for. That's what raising of hands clearly demonstrates. But at the end of the day, it still turns on your exercise.
Well, that confusion had been created. The confusion had been created already. The same thing happened while you were in Imo State. While the president was in Imo State, the exact same thing happened. Of course, lifted up the hand of the candidate of the APC, but still said. So it begins to give people conflicting. Don't you think the information is a bit conflicting?
No, I don't think it's conflicting. You see, the thing is this. Don't forget, this is politics as well. Now, these are governors that are members of the APC, that are holding APC senatorial tickets, but they could not find their way in having their own preferred governorship candidates have APC tickets. And so at the end of the day, they decided to support them in other parties, which in my own opinion is anti-party. But now, these governors are the leaders of APC in that state. They are necessarily going to receive the president when the president comes. So the best that the president can also do is to raise the hand of his own candidate. That is our candidate. If president raised the hand of APC candidate, and at the same time raise the hand of APM or AA, I don't know the name of the one in Imo State, then we can then say, oh, this is conflicting. Where does the president want us to go? But it's clearly said, look, in fact, that of Ogun State was quite instructive. So where is our candidate? And he said, look at him, he said, come to my right, and then, of course, as a Yoruba person, when you use your right hand to do something, it's quite significant. So, I mean,
all right, let's look at the PDP campaign. The campaign has been going on and a lot of people are moving from place to place and all that. The PDP campaigned just yesterday in Rivers State, as it were. And the mammoth crowd, that went there. Now, in the papers today, it's been said that the president is also going to Rivers State to campaign. First of all, let's talk about the APC governorship seat of that state. Why are people still going to the Supreme Court? You did not qualify, you did not do this, INEC said they're not fielding a candidate in that state, you don't have, but it seems the case still keeps lingering in the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is set to give judgment again tomorrow.
Yeah, the Supreme Court is going to rule on that matter tomorrow. I think the foundation of that problem was just some kind of intra-party bickerings and disagreements, which I think the stakeholders in Rivers State would be regretting by now, that if you got your acts together, you're not going to be having this kind of problem. But I believe the Supreme Court is going to give them some kind of respite. So this all up is not lost. They are hoping to be able to field the candidates
in that place.
Election.
In that place.
Yes, they are hoping. But that in itself doesn't affect the electoral fortune of the president in that place. We know Rivers State is predominantly PDP state, but look, one thing about the president which we need to know is that the president himself, his personality transcends party movement, and which is what I wanted to say when we're talking about Kano. Now look, on election day, it will drill down on Megeskia, they call him Megeskia, the person that says the truth, and Atiku, who on the streets of Kano, for lack of a better word and with lost sense of most of them call him Barao. So it's going to be a case of who are we voting for? Is it Megeskia or this man that has a terrible track record of stealing government funds and stealing government resources, both as a custom officer and as vice president? So it's going to drill down. So President Buhari's movement usually transcends APC. You see the governors of Ebonyi State, you see the governor of Anambra, you see the kind of things they are, short of endorsing him as a presidential candidate. despite the fact that they are in different political parties. So, Rivers State, what is happening in Rivers State, despite the fact that Rivers State is dominated by PDP, it still does not affect the electoral fortune of the president. I'm going to write it down. The president is going to have a very good showing, you know, a very massive improvement from the last election in the Southeast and South-South. At least we know they are not going to rise figures this time around.
All right, quickly, before we quickly take a break, you know, from this particular discussion, I'd like us to look at, you know, some of this last set of things that the president is doing. HASU strike was called off,
yes,
just according to, you know, very quickly before the strike, or before the election, about a week before the election, a strike was called off. ASUP was called off. The health workers are still there. All of these issues, you know, workers are saying no response or no agreement, no vote and all that. Wouldn't you think that it is as a result of wanting their votes that all of these agreements are quickly, you know, being drawn up and being settled?
I think it will be uncharitable to say that it's because the president wants votes. You see, the president, and this has nothing to do with political preference. The president had clearly demonstrated that he's a listening president from time. I mean, look at the railway, the Nigerian Airways retirees pension. It was the election approaching before he did that. And so the president have consistently tried to live up to his expectation. All the abandoned, uncompleted projects by PDP that he was doing, was it because, and that's why some of us also laugh when they say the various SIP programs of the government is vote buying, the trader money is vote buying. So I say, okay, if trader money is vote buying, how about End Power? How about market money? How about anchor borrower scheme? How about free school feeding program? How about 5,000 to the most vulnerable in the society? These people don't just know how to work. They don't have the culture of hard work. And so when you are doing something, then they just want to give it some kind of political connotation. You are saying trader money is vote buying, but you've forgotten that in this same country, banks failed, the elite failed the bank, they stole the monies in the bank. The federal government brought out over 600 billion naira to bail out those banks. The AMCON, the federal government set up AMCON to buy out delinquent loans and debt from banks that were collected from the elites. And now to give 10,000 naira as loan to the most vulnerable in the society, we are shouting that it is vote buying. And then I was reading today that most of those traders have even paid back, and so they are qualified for the next stage, which is 15,000 naira loan. So I don't think it has anything to do with politics.
All right, we just wanted to take a quick look, a very, very quick look, you know, at the campaign as it goes on, The election is just about 2 days. The election campaign would end in just about another 2 days.
On
48
on Valentine's Day. Very interesting day.
On Valentine's Day, as it were, 48 hours to the end of the campaign itself, and you know, everybody seems to be racing and racing and racing. Of course, we wish all the candidates all the best, but if your PVC has not been collected, please rush, quickly run there, go pick up your PVC, and then you know what to do. Pick the candidate of your choice. Vote for them and remember the finger. We'll run off on this break. When we come back, we're still looking at another thing, this time in health. Please stay with us.